So we're ready to go? All right. I don't know, I suppose, do we give them the thumbs up or? Yep, righto. Okay. My mic's not. Oh, is my mic on? Yep. Okay. Yep. Welcome everyone to this Birds of a Feather session. I'm Matt Stevens, work for 12D in both Victoria and Tasmania. So I look after training, support, sales, basically anything, provide 12D with feedback, write a couple of macros along the lines as well. The topic of my talk today is the application of components. Components have been in 12D for a while now. A lot of people have tried to use them and probably they don't get utilised as much as they probably could. So the purpose of my talk today is just to go through and just so, I've been around to a lot of offices, seen a lot of people using components at different stages. I'll sort of pick the eyes out of how do you actually get the best out of these components. So a component, if you don't know, is a parametric road object that can be placed on existing design strings to generate complex geometry. That's the definition of it. In 12D speak, they basically just create a lot of reference super alignment strings that can be modified so they meet particular requirements. I'm sure if anyone's ever designed a major intersection or a roundabout, they know how time-consuming these things are. And we've got components inside 12D to try and help you make that process a little bit smoother. Just a bit of background to find components in the menu structure. It's under Design, Roads, Components. I'm just going to pin that panel there. With components, 12D has an inbuilt component library, and in that component library we have these base components. So if I just look under the component library and the base components tab, I can see all the base components that we have currently inside 12D. So we have one for intersection roundabout, channelized rural intersection, left turn, median island, cul-de-sac, hammerhead, bus bay, parking bays, exit ramp and entry ramp at the moment. So there may be some in the future as well. We also have variations on those base components as well that are stored in the library. So you'll find things like major roundabout, minor roundabout, major intersection, minor intersections, and they're just variations on the base components. So you guys can actually create your own components from these base components and then save them off to the library. So an example might be that you create a roundabout for a 40 km/h zone, and you might get all the distances correct on that roundabout and then save that off to the library as a 40 km/h roundabout, just as an example. Every time you place a component, it references one of our library definitions, and when a component is placed in a design, the component function is created and it looks then back into the component in the library. So a component is a function in 12D, therefore it's able to be recalculated. So if I just have a look now briefly at placing a component in, so I'm going to use the option place component this time. I've got two super alignment strings already in my project here. It's not necessary to have super alignment strings. You could use super strings. And in another example, I'm just going to show you how you can use super strings rather than super alignment strings to get a preliminary design down really fast. But I'll show you just a component. I'll place a component down on those two strings, which is a major and a minor road. So I need to nominate the two alignments that it applies to. So a major left and a minor left. So after I do that, all I need to do is come down here and hit place, and you'll see it's generated the component of the major road up here and the minor road going in this direction here. Never, or very rarely, would you use this base component that comes in? More than likely there are some changes to it in some way geometrically. And that's where you can tear it off from the library by going Edit Definition here, and it detaches it from the library. Then you get full access to what you can do with that particular component. So for instance, if I go to the major road and look at the carriageway there, so I'm looking at the major road on the approach here, or this carriageway here, you've got spinners where you can spin up and down. So you see over here, the number of lanes is increasing or decreasing. And it's doing it all with super alignments. So yeah, you're able to use them for geometric purposes later on. You can also obviously change lane widths, median widths, things like that. You also have like the approach on this area here, the approach left turn. For instance here, you can make changes to that approach on the left turn on the approach, whether that's a high entry type arrangement, as I see here, or you can go drop down a free. So you've got a free lane to come into here, or you've got just a straight stand up, okay, which is just a straight fillet. There are a lot of things you can change in those as well. For instance, the high entry, you'll notice you've got this deceleration lane there. 12D does not calculate the length of that deceleration lane. You would need to go to your documentation and work out for the speed zone that you require how far this deceleration lane needs to be. So for instance here, we've got a parallel lane length of 80. You'd probably go to like an Ausroads or something like that, or you'd look at the queuing capacity that you'd need along there, and then you could go in there and you either use the spinners to change it, or just hand type, go and hit set, and then it goes and changes that automatically for you. So that's just a little bit of an idea about the way these components work with a quite a simple one. So what I'm going to do now is a lot of, some people have been using components successfully in preliminary design as well, and you'll find they're a very quick way to get preliminary designs done. So I'm just going to add on some property boundaries here, or proposed cadastral, and I'll just turn off those ones. So normally for preliminary design, you mightn't even have a survey, okay? All you might have is aerial photography. So I'm just going to read in a raster image here. So strings, rasters create, read a raster image that's georectified. So it'll place the image in the right spot on the ground, and just put the image in a model called rasters, or raster. Create. Just come over here, we'll switch it on. So there's an image of an intersection. So just aerial photography of that intersection. And I'm going to place now as just a preliminary roundabout, so a small roundabout, if we're retrofitting a roundabout to this intersection. So to do that, rather than use super alignments at this stage, you're able to just use simple superstrings. So it's just a matter, I'm sure everyone knows how to create a superstring. Just going to go to the reference string there, just give it a sensible name, and then just draw it with the CAD tools. Because I've got the image up, I've got a good center line there. I'll just drop a point at the beginning there, accept that. And I'll drop a point at the end, getting it close as I can to the center line of the existing road. And that must have height as well. That's the only stipulation as well. So I've got this, these lines going in at an arbitrary level of 10. So I'm just going to draw another one to do a minor road up here. Same process. Get it, just eye it in to the center. And then what I require now is I require a few extensions to those lines as well. So another CAD tool, just the extension, to extend out those lines, just so I've got enough room to put in my small roundabout. It just minimises the chances that it's going to break because it hasn't got long enough strings in it. So you can do this for all types of things, like your channelized rural intersections where you're not really sure how long you need for them. You can just bang in a few super strings like I did there, place it on there on temporary super strings and just see what lengths you require for different speeds. So I've just done that now. So what I'm going to do is go and place a component. And in our library that comes shipped with 12D, the last one in there is a small roundabout, suitable for small urban situations. I'm now going to nominate the major road, which was just the superstring, the minor road, superstring. And I'm just going to knock off these component parameters, which is the length on each leg we require. And on a small urban roundabout, you probably only need around 50. And I'm going to place that in there. So now I've got a first cut at a roundabout, a preliminary roundabout. I can see there that, wow, I can see that overlaying my raster image. I can see, well, that probably doesn't suit. We're going to need to acquire a lot more land in there, and the residents aren't going to be too happy that are there at the moment. So I'm going to do an edit definition now, pull it away from the one in the library. I'm now going to go look at the centre and decide what my centre radius of that roundabout should be. And I might make that 6. And I might make the circulating width 4. Go and set that. So what you see now is you see the circulation width of the roundabout and the central width has changed. And because this is a small roundabout, all the curb returns are set up as being just straight fillets from these two design lines that are put in. So a fillet will work in most situations. So I'm now just going to change those fillets to something smaller on each leg. So for something around about like this, I might just make these radiuses rather than 24.5 that was in the library. I might just make them 12, and I'll just change them on each leg, just to pull those curve returns in. So you see them coming in as I nominate them as 12. Oh, I can't see it because of the, yep. So that's what I've got there with the line work in it at the moment. I'm actually going to need to turn on the raster again because I'm going to want to make sure my curbs are sitting in the right spot, and I'll do that from the aerial photography again. So I've now put the raster in front of it. So under Views, send tins and rasters to the back. Yeah, it's a bit hard to see, but I'm able to now look at the approach to this particular roundabout along my major road. I'm able to click on the approach, and using the spinners, I can see that, or the carriageway width at the moment is set at 3 metres. I'm just going to bring it out so it matches the edge of the bike lane just for this example here now. So just use a spinner, goes up by 0.5 metre. Now that is sitting pretty much on that line work. Likewise with the exit, just going to do that as well. So out to 3.5 metres. Let's zoom out here. On the departure side of my major road, I'll do the same thing. I'll just make that 3.5 and the carriageway width of 3.5 on both sides here. And look at my minor road as well. So it's solving pretty complicated geometry as it's doing this as well. So 3.5 here. And if I look at this one here, it's probably closer to 4. I don't need to have round numbers. I could type in 3.7 if I wanted to type it on the keyboard as well. And on this side, I'll do it 3.5 and probably 4. So it's pretty much matching each curb line there. You may have obstructions that you're trying to get around, like trees that you want to keep or power poles that you don't want to remove and things like that. So this provides you with a really good tool to do that. One of the other areas here, this radius 40 can be adjusted here. So I could go to my major road, the approach of the major road, and maybe change that to 50 just to kick this out a little bit if I wished. And before I talked about these curves they're basically fillets, a 12 metre fillet there. If I looked at this one down here, it's a 12 metre fillet, as I said. Let me just... so what I'm going to do with this one here is I'll just, the R12, I'm just going to change that, rather than being a straight fillet, I'm going to change that one there to be, you've got several different options of these. You've really got to understand how these options work to place it. So the easiest one, the one that works most of the time, you're pretty safe with a fillet. The 2 centered curves work most of the time, and the 3 centered curves work most of the time. These ones up here, you've got to understand what they do. So I'm just going to click on the middle one here, which is 3 tangents, arc 3 tangents. You click on it, and sometimes it solves and sometimes it doesn't, because you're throwing at geometry and saying, right, in this case it's 3 tangent, arc 3 tangent. So what it's doing for you is it's coming off at a tangentially to the minor road line here, to the centre line. It's coming up to here, and in here we have like a throat width here of 4 metres that we've specified. So it's running tangential to that circle, and then finally it's running tangential to the circulation width of the roundabout. And it's solving that mathematically. So we're getting this area here where it's wrapping right around, and we're nominating as the arc in this thing of 25 metres. So you'll see in here, way over here, that you've got 25 metres. So you need to have a think about, how's this thing solving? And you can experiment with this radius. And obviously a positive radius for this, it's too tight, it's never going to work. So you can go negative with these values. If I typed in like -5 on that, hit set, you'd see you get something a little bit more reasonable. So it's still doing the arc, the 3 tangent, arc 3 tangent, but it's now placing this -5 in there. And then you could go around with the spinners and play with that until you got something that maybe satisfied one of your turning movements on there. So I might just move that out to 10. So that's probably as much as I'll mess around with this one. I'll go and hit set. So that would be the stage where I've sort of done my 2D geometry, okay? I'd try and get that approved from someone before I went into 3D geometry, okay? So just imagine, yep, the preliminary's been done, it's been ticked off. Let's go to 3D with that. So I'm just going to go and hit finish on this one. So now I'm going to apply this to, rather than the super strings I had in previously, I'm going to apply this to the super alignments now that I've put in. These ones here in the perspective view are ones I've put in earlier. So I'll just click that one as being the major road, and this one here as being the minor road. So these have got proper levels on them. So all I'm going to do now is just hit set, and all our strings here will adopt, they'll adopt vertical geometry. And look, the vertical geometry, it will solve most times, but it's probably not something that you'd use all the time, okay? It gives you an answer, but it's very, very difficult to go and press a button and just generate vertical geometry that works. So what you really need to do to use these components is you have something like this as a control, and you have that sitting in a model, okay? And then you're able, and you have that function as a control so that you can change that function at any stage. And quite often all you're after in designs like this are something to hang templates off. So you're after like these curb return strings, so you can hang, you generate your cross sections off those and generate your strings off those. So the go is you use the function as the control, and with super alignments you can create other strings, which I've got in here as well. Alignment to curbs, and I've got these already in the project, but just if I look at this alignment to curb, what it is, if I go into the horizontal, it's referenced to the small roundabout MK01. So it's taking the horizontal geometry off my function and then copying that across into my own string, which is in that alignment to curbs model. So I'm cherry picking the horizontal geometry off it, and then I'm able to supply my own vertical geometry. Because vertical geometry, you might have sag points, or you may be trying to introduce high points to make sure you get water that drains across major intersections and things. So this is the most successful way I've seen people using components. And this way too, it doesn't matter what 12D call their naming conventions in the component. You now can name your strings whatever you like and have them referencing the one that are actually in your component. And if your component in this case is, it's very, it's critical, it's going to be a control, it's a function, so you can always go up to the to utilities, functions, and lock. And you can go and lock your component so no one can come in and inadvertently go and change some of your control strings around. So that's always a good step, is to go and lock it up after you've sort of settled on your horizontal geometry. So I'm just going to hit recalc here, and you'll see this one here, I'm in the string editor, is going to jump across, and it's going to jump across, and now it's sitting on that the string that I've produced via the component. So I'm just going to do that, finish that one off. And then if I just add, I've created, okay, you get lots of strings like that, so it's a good idea to create a chain that then goes and solves all those strings for you. Because in this one I've got like the 4 curb returns and things in it. So easy enough to create a chain to do that, and that just resolves these curb returns in one click rather than having to go around and clicking on each one individually. So I'll go and hit run on that. It's doing actually the center as well. So I wind up with these models here that are now sitting on top of the horizontal geometry. Where it's getting its vertical geometry from, I haven't independently graded my vertical yet, but I could quite easily do that. So, and you'll need to do that at some stage with these components. Okay, so I've now sorted those strings out. The next step is to try and get my cross sections and strings produced from those. So I'm using a little sneaky way. If you're using components, you can actually use CreateRoads to do it for you and generate, for instance, all your sections around each curb return and sections around the median as well, because you simply just want to place it. There's 4, they're all the same. You can put them in. So I created, under Design, Roads, CreateRoads. So CreateRoads really isn't designed for this, but we're using it to just generate. It's doing similar things. You can do the Apply MTF Manager as well. That'll do the same thing. Okay. This time I've just chosen to use CreateRoads to do it. So you need a CreateRoads for the anything with a template out on the left side, another CreateRoads for anything with a template out the right side. So you can see here, rather than a center line, I've just nominated, as under centerline, I've nominated alignment to curbs, because that's what I want all the cross sections to hang off. And you can see in here, to run CreateRoads, you really need, I'm running it via snippets as well, but under here you need to nominate a right snippet, a left snippet, or a curb snippet. And I've just put in blank snippets there with nothing in them, just so it gets past the validation process. So that's what I mean. I'm using it for something probably it's not designed for, but it does a really good job of it. So, and I've got all the outputs going to the output models that I require, okay? So to generate that snippet that's going to run, okay, the easiest way to do that is, snippets are all text-based, okay? So the fastest way I do it is I actually create a dummy string in my project. I create an MTF file that you're probably all familiar with. So if I just look at an MTF file, so if I go under Edit, and I created an MTF file called curb left. So this is just hanging the curb off the left-hand side. A curb and a bit of a footpath and some nature strip. I'm just going to click into it, edit, and look at, basically I'm only looking at the left-hand side because I just want to hang it off the left-hand side of these curb strings. So it's as simple as this. You create your MTF file as per normal. You can run it off a dummy string to check it. So in this case, I'm just using actual snippets that are in our library. So the first snippet, I'm using edit, snippets, edit snippet. The first one there I'm using is this one here that's provided in our library. And all I'm doing with that one is I'm just using it to create the curb and channel, or the curb and gutter, depending on where you're from. So basically in here you can see that I'm using I've got one lane, but the lane width is 0, okay? Because all I want to do is produce this curb. The next one under that is the insert VPath, and the VPath does the nature strip for me now. So it works from the back of the curb that I've produced in this one down to back to the like the edge of verge or the boundary line in the subdivisions usually. So in this one here, I've got 0.6 metres grass, 1.5 metre width path, and a landscape width on the other side of the path of 2.7 metres. And I've also been able to nominate the footpath crossfall as well, being 2%. After that, after I've applied those two snippets, obviously you're sitting out with your verge. You need to then join back into the existing surface with some type of interface. So I'm just using a straight modifier there just to take where we are, the last link, back to the ground tin, as you can see down there. So a cut slope 1 in 1, fill slope 1 in 2. Now, yesterday, if you came to Birds of a Feather, Peter and Paul were talking about the pavement manager that's inside 12D now. So I'm going to now create the pavement with it as well. So this will be a bit of a revision from yesterday. So this snippet here comes with 12D in the library at the moment. It's basically try pavement curb only from attributes. And what this one does for me, it creates my try meshes for me automatically around my curb. So I'm using a try pavement curb only one, and I'll just drop this down here and juggle this around a little bit. But all I'm doing with that particular MTF line is I'm creating the try mesh for the curb, and I'm also creating the crushed rock under the curb as well. So I'm able to change that, change the depth from here to here. I think it's set at 0.2, and I'm able to change this crushed rock, the crushed rock depth as well through the the user, beta, pavement, and the pavement snippet pavement attributes through here. So in this particular case, I'm using, you'll see it in the snippet, I'm using reference style 1, zone 1. So in here, you can see the 200 millimetres below here for the bottom of the curb, and offset behind the back of curb, I'm having 150 mil of crushed rock behind the back of my curb. And obviously in this case, I'm not making use of wearing surface because it doesn't drop below the bottom of this curb. It's only to a layer 3 where it's 350 mil that it's going to drop down and come in underneath my curb here. So that's the first one and how I've applied that. So that's all in the library, and you see here nominated reference style and zone number, and I've just nominated my naming convention for curb lines as well in there. So I'll just finish that one off. The next one here simply does the footpath. So this one here, uses, as Peter explained yesterday, I drive pavement from attributes. So this one here is looking at this particular arrangement here, where I'm able to nominate, again, this is a snippet that's in the library, well, I'm able to basically nominate a start link, FP, so the front of my footpath, the end link, which is the back of my footpath, and then I'm applying to that a reference style 1 and a zone number 2. So if I go through again, I might have shut it down. Yep, I must have shut that down. Through user, beta, pavement, snippet pavement. So under my curb and channel, it's I'm using pavement only, zone 2. So in here, I'm creating a paved footpath. Layer 1 is the pavers, 100 mil thick. Okay, layer 2 is the bedding sand underneath them. That's 150 mil deep. And I've got 100 mil either side of those strings as well being produced. So that's a simple one there. The next two just deal with producing grass, okay? So in between the back of curb here, my back of curb string, and my front of footpath string there, and then from my back of footpath string out to the verge as well. That's what these two lines are doing. So they've got, you'll notice the reference style 1, zone number 1. And in my, in the pavement area, the global pavement attributes there, that's basically just turf. I've nominated that as turf and 100 mil deep, okay, in those two. Then I've come through and I've done similar to the batter slope as well. So I've put all this into an MTF file. Unfortunately, the CreateRoads doesn't use the MTF file. You just need to make a minor modification to it. So after you've got all that sorted out, you can go into a text editor with it, with that MTF file. You open up that, have a look at it. It's all written down. You've tried it on your dummy string. It's doing what you require it to do. All you need to do with that is simply copy that out from the left-hand modifier, paste it into another text file, give it a .mtf snippet on the end, and then, as I've mentioned in this one here, I've got a comment in here where it says start reference to final reference of 0. Okay, that's just saying go from the start of the reference string to the end of the reference string. What you need to do in the MTF snippet is you need to substitute that in with this in here, this notation, which says basically where the start of the snippet's applied to where you want the snippet to end. Okay, so that's the only change. It's just a copy, paste, and a find and replace. And in the future, we'll probably have a macro or something that does that automatically for you. So next thing, I'm just going to go and run that. So I've got two. I've got one that does all the left-hand side, and I've got another function in here that does the right-hand side as well. So roads, CreateRoads, and I've got one that does the CreateRoads center as well, because that's the only one I've got on the right-hand side. So it's just a matter now of hitting create. 12D will go away, create all the sections and strings and all these meshes for me. Takes a little while because it's doing a bit of work there. And you'll notice that the second one, when I do the center, the center of the roundabout being on the right-hand side, it's a lot less work. It takes probably not even a second to run that one. So I'll just finish off those. So what I've actually now created is a heap of cross sections as such, and my strings as well. So all my design strings have been created using the MTF snippets. And what's really good now is I can use I've created the meshes as well. So just add these meshes in. So there's the meshes in there. So all the solid objects. So I could go and take a look at underneath it as well, that all the meshes have been created. I can see the bedding sand and things for the pavement. The next thing though was, what Peter briefly touched on yesterday, was I've got this area here now that in my intersection that I can't really solve with MTF. So we've got that, we can now create pavement from a tin. So everyone knows how to create a tin. So you can, what I'm going to do now is tin this, this intersection up and then use polygons to change various colours of the tin so I get very different pavements in those areas as well. So, but before we could do that, if you try and triangulate that up now with these like alignment strings and stuff in it, you find it's quite messy because you get triangles that hang outside your component. So wrote a little option called roundabout boundary for this one, and it does work on other instances other than the roundabout boundary. But if I go and click this, this will give you the end caps of your component, which you require for when you go and create a tin of it. So this will go in a few increments as I find more and more applications for it. So all I'm doing is nominate major road, minor road, and I'm going to nominate all the curbs that I produced as well. So in here, I'm just going to drop off the actual component. I'll drop off the raster so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to nominate the major approach curb, minor departure curb, major departure curb, and minor approach. Okay, all I need to do now is it's going to create an end cap model for me. So it's going to cap off the ends of these things. And it's also going to produce a pavement boundary model as well. So it'll create automatically for me a boundary that I can use to colour my, my tin up with. So I've just hit process with that. So what's that done for me? If I go over to here, it's created a model there called design end cap, which gives me these strings here, which actually go across, hit the design line, follow the design line up, and then come across. So it's all basically one string that I'm producing. So I'm able to include that now in the triangulation. So my triangulation will be bounded by those things. So I'm just going to create a triangulation of that intersection now. So tins, create, triangulate data. I've pre-filled it out for myself, so I didn't get to go and pick all the models that I require. I can go and triangulate. So it's going to triangulate all the strings I produced via the CreateRoads. If I go to the design view now, add on the model that the tin that I created, which was design roundabout 2. Let me just turn off those contours for a sec. You'll see that's what I've produced automatically, and you see how it's capped very nicely off now. With the nulling, I've just nulled it back to a metre. It's all nice because of those end caps. So we may look at some stage at putting that in the actual component itself, so you can create your tins very easy. And it also creates, as I mentioned, the boundary. So if I go and click on boundary pavement, that was what that little roundabout boundary did. It's a bit hard to see there. If I just turn off the tin for a sec, you can now see it traces off the boundary, so I can use that as a polygon to go and colour up my pavement through my component. So I'll do that. I'll turn that tin back on and you'll see what happens. So tin design roundabout 2. I'm just going to bring a screen layout rather than fill it all out. So what I'm using here is I'm using tins, colour, and I'm colouring within a polygon, okay? So this first one here is just using the boundary pavement that was produced by the roundabout boundary. So I go hit colour, and it changes the colour of that into the colour the string was, which was the Viz Road asphalt. The next one I'm going to do is the centre of my roundabout. So I can get concrete. Basically, the aim of it is to get concrete curb on it. So I've just gone and done that, which has made all this area here a concrete colour, and it's using this polygon, which is basically just the alignment, super alignment of the centre of the roundabout. And lastly here, colour, I'm just taking the back of the median in here, or the curb, and then I'm using that to colour that up as a Viz grass colour, so that I can now go ahead and use the tin pavement stuff to generate the pavement through my, my component intersection here. So I can finish off that and use under utilities, user, beta, pavement. I can go and use this pavement creates from tins. And I've got one in here, which basically is just looking at this roundabout tin, design roundabout tin that I produced here. When it's Viz Road asphalt colour, I want to use reference style 1, zone number 1. So this is good. It's got a style button here. I can easily get into my pavement attributes. So in here, I'm just using the reference style 1, zone 1, which is the pavement specified in here. And I've created the curbs already, so all I'm using in here really is this wearing surface here and the base layer under the wearing surface to produce my pavement through the intersection. The other one I've got here is where it's green, okay, where it's the Viz Grass 1, I'm using that as well, and that's using pavement only, reference style 1, zone 1. So if I look at pavement only, reference style 1, zone 1, and that's just the turf, 100mm deep turf on it. So I'll just run that. So hit process on that one. The way that goes and applies the pavement to my intersection. So I'll just now add in the mesh that it creates there, mesh pavement roundabout. So that's what it's created there now. It's done the infill for me of all the asphalt in there. So now I've got a more of a complete design there now. So yeah, that's using components. I've connected this all up via a chain as well. So it's all still referenced to the underlying component. So it means now that if I do make a change to that underlying component, I'm going to run that chain that resolves my curb returns, it resolves the centre of my roundabout, and it will resolve the CreateRoads that run around my roundabout. It'll then resolve that boundary function that we had to create the end caps and the boundaries, and then it'll retriangulate that tin and then apply the vertical, like the vertical template to the areas in here just by running a chain. So I'll do it now. Edit function. Now this one here is this one here. So edit the definition. Now that you've got this set up, I could look at, say, the centre of my roundabout here. It's got a centre radius of 6. If I decided that wasn't good enough, if I wanted to, say, make the centre radius 5 rather than 6, just a simple change like that, finish that off, set that. It's now changed the design strings for me. If I then go and run chain, I've got a chain here that runs that just resolves those things in order. So if I now go and run that, you'll see it goes ahead and basically just redoes the roundabout for me very quickly. So it's doing a fair bit of work creating all these meshes as well. And you'll see it all update as we go along. So I've sort of taken you through from preliminary design into a more final design. If I just now look at the raster, the raster image there, put that behind again. Yeah, you can see what's going on there. You can also use now the plan OpenGL stuff. So under the views, new, if I wanted to use the plan OpenGL, if I wanted to see my meshes, I could first put on the raster again. Yep. And then add on all my meshes on this view. And you'll be able to see exactly where the roundabout's sitting in here. okay, on the OpenGL plan view there. And you could quite easily as well, we could add that tin, if we required it, into a super tin as well of the design and see how that fits in. And how are we going for time? We got a bit more?
Not really.
Okay, no worries. I won't do that now, but yeah, we could make a super tin of that and join that into the ground tin. So yeah, I'll swap over there to Tim. Thanks.
Hi everyone, for those who don't know me, for those who don't know me, I'm Tim Brooks. I'm the 12D Model, 12D Synergy Training Manager. I'm going to take you through a couple of different tools to finish off this session with. The first of which is the Apply MTF Manager. Now, this has been around for a few versions now, but experience is showing us that it's not all that commonly used. So who here is using the MTF Manager at the moment? Not a lot of hands. Which means the rest of you are still creating your MTFs and your functions separately, okay? So what the Apply MTF Manager can do is do all that for you in one step. A couple of benefits here quickly. It uses the Apply MTF defaults. You can apply it to multiple super alignments at once. You have the option to turn all your new function strings on automatically in any chosen view. You can use optional to use an MTF seed file, and it won't populate your model list with empty models, okay? So you can have them automatically removed. All right, so let's take you in and have a look at this. So first things first, you should always set your Apply MTF defaults. You might have this already done in your user folders, and it's done for every project, but it's always great to set your base tin. You can set up your section separations, volume reports, your default models, or using the wildcards. Also with the Apply MTF Manager, you can use the ampersand symbol down in the polygons and row boundaries, which will combine that model for you, so you end up with one model, not a model per alignment. And the rest you fill out as per normal if you want to use those options. Any changes, you can write your defaults away so that they're saved. So open up the MTF Manager, Design, Apply MTF Manager. All right. First thing I like to do here is come in and set your defaults. So you click on that one. I've already done it here. I've entered in a prefix in this case for my design MTFs and my design functions using the 3-character DES. You can select what models you want to be automatically cleaned out so it doesn't produce those empty models there. Likewise, which are going to be ticked on to create automatically as well. And down the bottom sets your grid width. So that's this area here. So if you want it a bit deeper, as I've done, I've set it to 300. I think the default is 200. When you've done that, just hit right, finish, and any changes, you just got to restart the panel to take effect. Okay. Now, there's a number of ways to add your alignments to your MTF Manager here. You can see your selection criteria up the top, so you can pick your alignments individually, by model, by view. So if I went and selected it by view, it would select all the super alignments in a view and populate the grid with that list. I like to do it model at a time, a little bit more particular. So I go and select my alignment model. It adds the alignments in below. But in here, I've also got curve returns that I want to do as well. So I'm also now going to go and select the alignment to curbs, and it appends those to the bottom of the list. So it doesn't overwrite the original ones I've already selected. Next up here in the miscellaneous options, you've got the option to create a chain from this. So it will create a chain with all the recalc functions in it. So you can add that into a design chain later on if you wish. If you've already got existing applied functions in your project, you can select this button here and it will populate with all the existing functions so you can see where you're starting at. In this case, we're doing it from scratch. View display. I'm going to select my design view here. This will turn all my new design strings and sections automatically on in that view for me. You do have the option to use a seed MTF file. We'll come back and have a look at this a little bit later on. And then underneath that, you can see models ticked on, so it won't create them if they're empty. Okay? Down in the grid area, first column, the apply. So obviously this is going to run it in this case. If you don't want it applied on any of these alignments, simply just untick them. Okay? In the next column is the recalc using existing MTF. At the moment they are all unticked because they haven't been created yet. But if you ran this once, they would automatically tick on, and the next time you hit the create update button, it would recalc them instead of recreating them. There's our prefix that was automatically entered in from our defaults. You can type it in manually if you want and copy and paste it down, but in this case they're all design functions. The super alignment name, which has automatically been retrieved from the model selection. You can apply your prefixes to your model names as well. In this case, I don't want it because my design string is called design, and in this case, RS2A01. I don't want des design, etc. You can apply your templates here. So for my 4 main roads, you can do them individually, of course, just selecting the cell there, right-click and set. Except on this one, I am going to grab all 4 roads at once, right-click, browse, choose my right-hand template. Same for the right-hand side. Oop. Just grab all those, right-click, browse, and choose the right-hand side template. For the curve templates, well, I only want to apply a template down the left-hand side of those alignments, so I'm just going to select the template for the curve on the left-hand side only and leave the right-hand side blank. The tin interface, this has automatically been picked up from my apply MTF defaults, so I don't need to fill that out. If you want something different for a road, you can click in, right-click and select a different one if you wish. Boxing, probably something you're never going to tick on again. You've all seen the new Pavement using tri-mesh or snippets. This is using the old boxing rules, so, but it's there if you still use those. I want to create the polygons, and then you tick on anything else that you wish to be created. So maybe I want the road tins for the first 4 roads, but not the curve returns. And likewise, you got depth polygons, whether you want tab poles created and or the cross sections to be filtered. Once you've filled out all that, you come down to the bottom left and hit the create update button. That's going to run through, and with all those super alignments, it's going to create an MTF and your function all at once for all 10 of those alignments. And you should get, in this case, 10 OKs down the bottom with your volumes letting you know everything is run okay. And if I move this over here, because we had it turn on in a view automatically, there are all our road strings and cross sections. Okay, and you can just go and edit your MTFs as per normal then. All right, a few other features down the bottom here. You'll see clear grid. It's basically just clears the grid. Okay. Sort the grid is, say, oh, hang on. Let's go and pick another alignment model that hasn't been run yet, and then I pick another one that has been run. Sort grid will just elevate the recalced ones automatically to the top, so your new ones are at the bottom. Okay, pretty simple. The add AMM button, this is if you want to run another function on the same alignment. Okay, so we recommend you clear the grid first, maybe you pick an alignment individually, and then you could change the details and run another function on that alignment. All right. If I go back now and populate that list again, you'll see the recalc's on, so it's not going to recreate it again. The delete AMA, this will disassociate the functions with the apply MTF manager. Okay, so if you were to do that, it removes all those now from this list. It doesn't, however, delete the functions and MTFs. You will have to go and do that separately if you want that to happen. Just disassociates it with the MTF. Okay, so that's all those features. What I'm going to do now is show you running a seed file. So we'll just bring up some new alignments. Just going to run the 4 main roads this time, and we're going to select, I'll pick another view, pick my seed road snippet MTF seed file. For those that don't know what an MTF seed file is, it's a predefined MTF with all the settings. It can have templates or snippets already in it that you can use over and over again. Really easy to create, so just quickly, if you went up and created an MTF, in this case I'm going to edit one. Just pick an alignment here so I can edit it. In my MTF file here, I've pre-populated it with some snippet templates and also a boxing snippet. So it can run all those at once. And you don't have to have these all active. So you may have the boxing one inactive and turn it on later on down the track when you need it. You can also set up other settings like your super elevation strings to be applied to, that sort of thing. Okay? So when you're done, you save and finish that. You go to your working file and retrieve that MTF file. Let's just go and grab them. So there it is there, and you rename it to .mtf_seed. So that's all you have to do to create a seed file. Okay. So I can place that in there now, which means this time around, I don't need to populate the templates. It's already going to be in my seed file for this one. I can just go create update. This one will take a little bit longer to run because it's got some more information in it. There we go, I got four OKs. I'll finish this for now. There's my strings automatically turned on. And if I was to show you this in the 3D view, we could go and add in our design strings. Okay, so they're all run, but I could also, because I added the boxing tri-meshes, they'll also automatically run for me. And then you can go and edit those to suit. Okay. So that's the Apply MTF Manager. So hopefully you can all use that one now. It'll save you a lot of time instead of creating all those MTFs and functions individually. All right, that's not the one I want. The next tool I'm going to talk about is the new Attribute Widening tool with Snippet. Okay, this is also available in version 12. All right. So you're all familiar, or most of you will be familiar with the old road widening tool. It's very handy, great for extending existing surfaces, creating those envelopes, maybe create alignments within, that sort of thing. But it is very dated, so things like you can't use smart changes with it. Also the selection criteria is very old school. Okay. So the new one now sits next to it on the road toolbar, lives there, that's what it looks like. In the menu, it lives up under Design, Roads, More. And there's the old one, Road Widening, and the new one, Road Widening with Snippet underneath it. Okay. All right, so in this job, I've just run down an existing road, some templates that are hanging off some hinge strings, and there you can see they're just following the standard crossfall of the template. What we want to do is correct those so that they match the existing crossfall. So before I run the new tool, there is also a widening snippet manager for that one. There is a default style in here already that you can either just leave or change or add different ones if you choose. So there's some example there. So there's a model prefix or suffix, depending on what you choose here. There's the colors for your min, max, existing, and super elevation, etc. Okay. Any changes, make sure you hit set. If you want to add another zone, you can come up, hit the plus button, add a zone 2. Maybe you want different colors if you're running it over the same alignment. Okay. Also, if you go back up a level, you can add a different reference style if you wish as well. Okay. All right, we're going to open up the new widening tool now. In this one, we just go and select the super alignment you want to run it down. So I'm going to choose this one here. You pick your reference style and zone. In this case, I just want the one that's there. And down the bottom, you have your MTF and function prefix or suffix. I like 3 characters, so I'm going to shorten that one up. And also, you can go to the style via this panel as well. So there's the style button there, so you can make some changes, hit set. And now I'm going to go hit the process button. And what that does is create a function with an MTF into it. Okay, so go finish there, and I'm going to go and edit that one now. So edit, it's the only widening one I got down the bottom. And it applies to the left-hand side only to start with, this snippet. So I'm going to open it up here. At the top now, I have the full use of any smart chainage that you wish to apply it over. There's your style and zone reference if you wish to change those. You can pick a hinge or a crown string as well. In this case, I do want a hinge string. So I'm going to pick hinge string out here. There's your minimum and maximum crossfalls that you can define an envelope from, and also the width of section you wish to create. Okay. Next is the crossfall mode. The default is min-max only, but in this case, I don't want that. I want to extend the existing. So it won't create the envelope. It'll just create the extension of the existing crossfall. Okay. All right, so we're going to go OK on that one. And before we recalc it, I also want to run that on the right-hand side. So we're just going to copy that line from the left side to the right side. Open it up on the right side, and I just need to change the hinge string to the one on the other side of the road. All right, OK there, OK on those. We're going to go recalc. And if I come up to my cross-section view now and turn on the widening details, in this case I'm just going to turn the tin model on, so there's the list of models that it will create for you. You'll see the extension or the existing profile extended on that tin. Okay. If I come into the plan view here, you can also turn on strings, so maybe you want to see the sections, and you can see them running out 15 metres past the hinge string. All right, I'm going to open up the MTF editor for this road now, because what we want to do is make our curb lips come down onto this tin. So my recalc panel's disappeared. So I've already got the modifiers in there for this one. I've just deactivated it. So this is just a link to tin modifier. So I'm just going to scroll across here, activate it. Okay. Same for the right-hand side. Scroll across, activate it. And we'll recalc that road. Okay, and there it is, matching the crossfall, lipper curb up on both sides of the road there. Now, that's all good and well if you're happy with that, but some people like to look at the longitudinal grade of their curb lip as well. So maybe you want to grade a string individually to make that a bit smoother. So we're just going to do it on the left-hand side. Open up that snippet widening tool, and we're going to change the crossfall mode from extend existing to existing min and max. And this mode will activate our envelope as well. So in this case, I'm going to make it +2 and -2. Go OK. And we're going to recalc that one now. And you'll see in my cross-section view, with the tins already turned on, it's created 2% crossfall envelope, positive and negative each side of the existing crossfall. So I've already prepared an alignment earlier in the plan view. There it is horizontally. In the cross-section view, I'll turn it on. You can see it's down lower, a little bit outside the envelope on that one. All good. In the long section view, I've already graded the alignment vertically just to save some time. But if we come down and turn on the widening tin here, you'll see the grey existing tin and the positive and negative envelope around it. So I've just graded that super alignment in between that envelope throughout that area. So now on the left-hand side modifier for the road, instead of doing string to tin, we'll just go deactivate that one again. We'll do a 2-string modifier. Go OK there, recalc. And if we come up to our cross-section view, you'll see the lipper curb now matches onto our alignment string. So you get a smoother grade. The crossfall will vary slightly, but it's within that ±2%. Okay, so there's some options on how you can use that one. Another way you can use it, and I'll just change projects here, is to extend the super elevation of a super alignment. So on our main line string here, we have a speed table assigned to it. And you can see down in the long section view, it has some super elevation on it. Okay. There's an off ramp coming in to tie into that, and at the moment, it's set off a standard crossfall from this alignment, but it needs to match the super elevation of it. So I've already run the widening snippet on this one, so we're just going to go and edit it here. Left-hand side. And on this option, we're using the crossfall mode reference super elevation. Okay? And the only other mode in there is the super min max, which just means not only will it match the super elevation of the super alignment, it will give you the envelope as well. Okay? But I just want the super elevation. So that's been run. Go apply for the recalc. Come into the cross-section view, and I'm going to turn on the widening tin, and you can see it projecting, matching the existing super elevation for that alignment. So all I have to do now is come and edit the on-ramp super alignment. So if we come down to our long section view and add in the widening tin as well, you can see towards the end there, it's just not matching in. Okay. So a quick edit on that one. vertical edit. Now I could change this computator to a partial drape, but for quickness sake here, I'm just going to tick on, you can see it's just 3% off this alignment at the moment. Instead, I'm just going to tick the match super elevation for it. Go set and finish. And now it ties in perfectly. So I can just run a chain. Again, my recalc's disappeared. That didn't work. That's why. Might have to recalc the strings first. Now we can run the chain. All right, so you can see now that that alignment's been updated and it's all tying in with that, the two on-ramps tying in there. So it's just an example of how you can use that one. All right. Last tool I want to show you is, and this one is new to version 14, is the Advanced Stopping Sight Distance graph macro. This one's been written by Paul. So let's go and have a look at that. All right. So on this road, I've already run the sight distance checks. We can open up a chain that I've already created here. So the advanced sight distance tool has been run. If we preview that, we're not going to go through this tool in any detail, except to say the only thing you need to do to run the macro report is change the report type to original XML. Okay? Other than that, everything else you do as usual. All right. So we'll come back to this chain later on. Now those sight distances have already been run, and if we have a look at a few of those, might be able to see them in plan there. There's a couple of red ones, so there's a few errors along the way. You can see them in the cross-section view there. Again, red ones denoting an error. Also profile one and long section there. So it's hitting the tin in a few places and something else up here. To run the new report in 14, it's under Design, Sight Lines, and you'll see stopping sight distance graph. Okay. This is what it looks like. Once you've run your sight distance tool, you'll have your report. So you can just come and add the report in here. So I'm just going to add one to start with. So it's the one for the car in the lane 1. Pick a required colour. So let's say green for that one, and the achieved colour might be red. Okay. When you've done that, come down to the bottom and hit the update graph, and that will show you your sight distance in report format, or at least in graph. Okay. So the green one's what's required. You can see in a few places here we're failing. And again, if I was to go and look at those reports, say, we'll turn the sight distance on in a 3D view. Not going to come to the front. Oh, there it is. Let's go and add the sight for lane 1. A few favourites set up here. So let's go. Someone stuck a wall in the middle of the road, so that's why that one's failing. And if we move down the road a bit further, we're clipping the concrete barrier on this one. Okay. So we have a pretty good idea why the report's failing, but you can see it in those locations on that graph as well. All right, how this graph works, or some more detail on it. You can add more than one report. So just add more lines, come and add your reports in there. So I might add the truck one for that same lane. Let's go magenta for required, yellow for achieved, hit update graph. Okay, so the two reports are in there now, both car and truck. The title, standard title for the graph is stopping sight distance, grade corrected. If you wish to have a new title, you simply type it in here. So let's go, well, it's Emu Park, and it's for RS1 A01 alignment. Hit update graph again, and that gives you a new title for your graph. Okay. You also have the option to add a tin in. If I pick the design tin, it's going to be the same as the center line anyway. So maybe I go existing and then hit update graph. And you can see it floating around underneath there as well. If you don't wish to see the center line, you can untick it here. Again, update graph so it doesn't show it. Okay. In this case, you can see it got a bit of overlap. So I can also use a datum shift to separate those. So I'll go 400 and we'll update the graph, and that just gives us a bit of clarity there. You can move this information panel around, by the way. That's a dynamic update on distances. It's just grip shift. All right, and also you can change your profile exaggeration too. So if I want to see that in a little bit more detail, let's go 10, update graph, and it gives me a bit more vertical distortion. Okay. If you don't like this little graph info box, you can turn it off. It's just this little tick here, and that can clarify those things up for you too. All right, so as I've shown, you can view more than one report at a time. When you've done these reports, instead of if you came back and updated the sight distance tables, you don't want to add all these back in. So you can save a parameter file. Just enter a name in here and hit write to save it. I've already done this, so we're going to recall it. This time I'm going to hit read. And I've got all 4 sight distance for this road now. So the 2 cars, both lanes, and the trucks as well. Okay. And you can see them all there, all the colours. You can also produce a report from this. So just enter in a name of a report up the top, and then you hit the report button. To view that report, we're just going to go and open it up. It's a HTML report, and what this does is give you some hyperlinks at the top here. So if we want to visit the car for lane 1, we click on the hyperlink for it. It gives you your parameters at the top, and then you scroll down and it shows you everything you need to know about that sight distance report. So what the achieved sight distance was, what the required is, and it goes down and tells you, oh, look, it failed there. Not only does it tell you it failed, it tells you what it failed on. In this case, it was an object named the wall. Okay. Keep going down further, and we also failed down here, but this time we failed on the tin on the super combine. Okay. So it tells you what you're failing on. Also at the top of this report, you can go straight to your graph area. So if the graph is down the bottom of the report. Okay. And there's a return to top on the top left-hand side here as well. So that's the report for it. A couple other things you can do with this sight distance table or graph is you can zoom in on a particular area. Oh, I should say, you can also save this image. So if you want to save the graph to an image, just choose what your image type is. So maybe it's a JPEG. When you hit the report button, that will go and write a image into your working folder. So there it is. Open that up. Got a nice JPEG image that you can put into, another Word doc or whatever it may be. The sight distance lines get produced by the sight distance tool, so you can. Oh, these reports, these lines. No. All right, a couple of other things you can do here. You can zoom in on your graph. So just hold the left-hand mouse button, and drag over an area that you wish to zoom in on, and it will zoom in on that part of the graph. Down the bottom here, it'll tell you the area that you're zoomed in on. It's the highlighted bit down the bottom here. And you can use the scroll to go left or right then if you want to see either side of that. Okay. To exit the zoom, just right-click in the view and undo zoom. Okay. You can also maximize this graph. So if you right-click in the graph area and go maximize, you'll get a full screen of your graph. Okay. To exit that, just up in the top left-hand side, just mouse click in on that. A couple other things you can do with this graph. So when Paul created this, he created it based on one of the drainage reports. I think that's right. And in that report type, you can customize the way it looks. So just by right-clicking on the graph area, you can change your viewing style. So at the moment, it's light shadow. Maybe you want to go a bit darker, medium inset. Okay? There's a whole heap of different ones there to choose from. Likewise, you can change your border style and your font size as well. Okay? Any changes you do make are retained when you hit the Finish button. Okay? So if I go and run that again now, I'll just add one report back in. Update graph. You'll see it retains the view style that I had when I left the last one. Okay? And that's all done through, when you finish, it writes a file into your working folder called graphsettings.xml. Okay? So if you want to go back to a default style, you can just delete that file, and then when it restarts up, add this back in again. It goes back to its default settings. Okay. All right. The last thing I got for you is that this can be put into a chain as well. So let's come back and fill this out the way I had it before. Bring my chain back up. Running out of space here. All right, down in the graph area of my chain, we're just going to go Insert, and we're going to choose under Execution, the option Manual. Okay. When that's in, come down the bottom and select the Capture Data button and pick on the panel of your graph anywhere. That enters your panel, and then all you have to do to capture the report is select Capture Button, hit Update Graph, then Capture Button again, and the Report button. And that's everything you need to do there. You can then save your chain, and that's written into the bottom of your site distance chain. Okay? All good. I think we've run over a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions, you can find us out in the area.